Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on maybe the most critical snapshot in the entire golf swing. We're talking P2, the takeaway.
Yeah, that instant the shaft gets parallel to the ground.
Exactly. It's that shift, right, from
Mhm.
just standing there at P1 address into, well, into the actual athletic motion.
It's everything. It's not just getting the club back, it's how you start that movement.
And that's the mission today, isn't it? To understand why getting P2 right, or maybe right for you, is just non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Get P2 wrong, and the rest of the swing is just. That's a series of compensations. You're fighting yourself the whole way down. We want to look at the mechanics, but also, crucially, how your specific vio swing pattern changes what an ideal P2 looks like.
Okay, let's unpack this critical precursor move. Maybe start with the rules that apply to, well, everyone, the universal stuff.
Right, the fundamentals. Before we get into the different styles, there are some core geometric principles. Think plane, sequence, and stability.
Base lane first. We hear a lot about swing plane. How critical is it right at P2?
Immensely critical. The club head, or really the shaft, needs to track pretty much along or just slightly under the plane it started on at address.
And why that specific path? What happens if you deviate?
Well, if you whiv it too far inside right away, or lift it way outside, you've immediately changed the swing's radius. You're off balance geometrically. Take it inside too early. You're almost guaranteed to come over the top later, or you'll need some, heroic save move in transition. Go outside, and you might get steep and disconnected. It just forces compensations.
Okay, so plane discipline is job one. What about sequencing? You mentioned the body.
Yes, body rotation and coil. This is key. P2 is not just an arm lift. By the time that shaft is parallel, your chest and your pelvis, they must have started rotating.
Already, that early.
Definitely. It's not a huge turn yet, but it's initiated. That's how you start building that separation, the X factor stretch between the upper and lower body. That's the engine. It's where you begin storing energy.
So if someone just lifts their arms with no turn,
They're setting themselves up for failure. No stored energy, probably going to lose width at the top, no depth. It becomes all arms, no power, no consistency.
makes sense. And while the body starts coiling, what are the arms and wrists doing? Laid arm straight, trail arm folding slightly, but the wrists, you hear passive wrists all the time.
Yeah, passive is the word. And it's vital. Why? Because any a conscious hinging or rolling of the wrists right here at P2, it basically disconnects the club face from the big muscles.
So the hands start doing their own thing too early.
Exactly. You want the hands and club to feel like they're just being moved by the body's rotation at this point.
Yeah.
Keeps the club face square to the arc. If you start manipulating with the small muscles now, you're relying on timing later. Big mistake.
Okay, so plain early body rotation, passive wrists. What about the foundation? Feet, legs, pressure.
Good point. You do start shifting pressure lightly toward the trail foot. You're beginning to load that saw.
But you can't just slide over there.
No, absolutely not. That's the stability constraint. You need to maintain your posture angles, your spine angle, your knee flex. They have to stay pretty much constant.
So it's a rotational load, not a lateral shift.
Precisely. Feel anchored. Feel like you're coiling around your trail leg almost, a sway or a dip here, and you've lost your stable base.
Power leaks out immediately.
Okay, those are the universals. But, you watch the pros, and their P2s don't all look identical.
They absolutely don't.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? This is where bioswing dynamics comes in.
This is the key. Because trying to copy a single perfect P2 look is often why people struggle. Your best P2 depends on how you naturally generate power. Are you upper core, middle core, or lower core dominant?
Let's break those down. How does P2 look different for each type? Start with the upper core players.
Okay, upper core. Their power comes more from the upper body, shoulders, upper spine. Think top-down power source. So their P2 tends to set up a slightly steeper path. You often see the club shaft slightly outside their hands at P2.
Outside, okay. Yeah, leading to a more vertical plane. Their hands lift relatively early, creating width. Rotation-wise, you see significant shoulder turn early, but maybe less initial hip turn compared to others.
And pressure.
Often stays more centered or shifts subtly into the trail heel. This helps them rotate around a more fixed axis, kind of setting up that steeper cover-style impact they favor.
Interesting. Very distinct. Now, middle core. These are the smooth, rhythmic guys.
Often, yeah, the synchronized players. Power comes from a really balanced rotary contribution from the whole core. Upper and lower body working, very harmoniously.
So their P2 looks textbook.
You could say that it's often the most neutral looking. club shaft parallel and usually pointing right at the hands or maybe just fractionally inside them.
On plane.
Right on plane. Their torso and arms stay beautifully connected. Rotation is balanced. Chest and pelvis have both turned a good amount, but maybe without the extreme separation emphasis you see elsewhere.
And pressure shift.
Subtle, balanced, usually moves towards the inside of the trail foot. It's all about symmetry and repeatability for them. Minimize the variables.
Okay, that leaves the lower core players, the ground-up power sources. Their swings often look powerful, maybe a bit flatter.
Definitely. Lower core players generate force from the ground through the legs and hips. It's a ground-up sequence, so their P2 looks quite different. They need depth and rotation early, so at P2 you'll often see the club shaft slightly behind their hands.
Behind, so flatter than the initial plane.
Yes, often traveling a bit flatter, deeper. The hands move more inward and lower. The club feels like it's moving behind the torso more.
And the rotation signature.
This is critical. The hips tend to initiate more aggressively for them. More hip turn early, while the shoulders might feel, relatively speaking, a bit more passive just at this P2 moment.
Hips leading the way early. And pressure.
A distinct early shift deep into the trail heel. They're loading that trail side dynamically right away, prepping for that powerful drive from the ground up in the downswing.
Hang on a sec. If the lower core player is rotating the hips aggressively that early, how do they avoid swaying? You just stress stability and maintaining posture.
Excellent question. It highlights the difference between rotation and lateral movement. It is an aggressive rotation, but it's a turn around the trail hip socket.
Ah, so they're turning in place, effectively.
Exactly. They must maintain their pelvic tilt and flex. If that trail hip slides laterally instead of rotating back and deep, they lose that tension, lose the ground connection, becomes a powerless sway. So it's rotation creating depth, not a slide.
Wow. Okay, so 3 very different looks, all potentially correct depending on the player's engine.
Precisely. It's about being correct for you. And that leads right into how you check this stuff, the feedback.
Yeah, how do you know if you're doing your P2 correctly?
Well, one of the most immediate checks, regardless of your core type, is the club face angle in P2.
The club face check, what are we looking for?
The leading edge of the club face should basically mirror your spine angle.
Mirror the spine angle.
Right.
Okay, why is that the benchmark?
Because that indicates the face is square to the rotational arc your body is creating. It's in a neutral, powerful position relative to your turn.
And if it's not, if it's pointing at the sky?
Too open. You've likely rolled your wrists open. If it's pointing down at the ground.
You shut. Who did it?
Exactly. Either one means you've introduced a fault that requires a timing-based fix later on. You're basically baking inconsistency into the swing right there at P2 if that face isn't right.
Oh, and we actually have data on just how much is happening by P2, don't we? From kinematic tracking.
We do. The tour averages are really revealing. Let's look at the AI Golf Chatbot database averages.
Okay, what do they show for chest turn at P2?
For the PGA Tour Pros, it's around minus 38.5 degrees. So turn 38.5 degrees away from the target already.
And LPGA?
Slightly more, actually. Around minus 40.8 degrees on average.
Wow, that's significant rotation. What about the pelvis turn?
Also significant. PGA averages around minus 22 degrees. LPGA around minus 24 degrees.
So the hips are definitely turning, but there's already that separation starting from the chest turn.
That's the proof. P2 isn't passive. The coil, that X factor, is already building right here. If you're only at, say, 10 degrees of chest turn at P2, you're way behind the curve. You haven't started storing energy efficiently.
And that 38-ish degree chest turn number, that seems like a sweet spot.
It seems to be. Enough rotation to start loading effectively without, over-rotating early and losing your structure or posture. Too little, no power storage. Too much too soon, you risk collapse. These numbers show what efficient loading looks like at P2.
And this is where modern tech, like 3D analysis, really helps, right? You can see your own numbers.
Absolutely. You don't have to guess anymore. You can see your hand depth. Is it deep like a lower core player needs? You can check your shaft plane as it's slightly outside like an upper core player might prefer. And critically, you check that club face angle relative to your spine.
So it confirms if you're moving consistently with your natural pattern.
Exactly. Alignment with your core type. That's the goal.
So let's sort of wrap this up. What's the big takeaway on the takeaway?
P2 is the gateway. It truly is. It sets the table for everything that follows: energy, path, sequence, impact.
Get it right, especially right for your biomechanics, and the rest of the swing just becomes simpler, more efficient.
Definitely. And nailing down P2 lets us move confidently into P3, the mid-backswing, where we focus on maintaining width, controlling the arc, keeping that tempo smooth. That's for next time.
So here's something to think about. We've seen how distinct these P2 moves are for upper, middle, and lower core players. If you're fighting for consistency, maybe hitting slices or hooks you can't seem to fix, could it be that your takeaway isn't actually wrong in some universal sense, but it's just wrong for you? Are you trying to force the P2 of a golfer whose body works completely differently? How much better, how much more consistent could your swing be if you stopped chasing some generic model and truly embraced your body's natural, most efficient way to start the swing? Something to consider next time you're on the range.